Champions!
Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your hosts Mark and myself Paul. Tonight Mark and myself will be going solo again, and Mark will just do a few shout outs first. Mark?
Oh, sorry, Paul. Yeah, just the usual shout-outs to Tim Alloy, Malika, and Richie. Hopefully, he'll be starting his treatment next week.
Mm-hmm.
Young Ben, he's getting stuck into his physio and getting stronger all the time. And I'd just like to give a special shout-out to mention to Mikey. Everybody on the podcast knows Mikey's here, but one of his family members had a bad accident earlier on today. So obviously, our thoughts and prayers are going out to Mikey and his family. And finally, some very sad news today about a real Celtic legend. It's been confirmed that Barry Ault's suffering from dementia, and I'm sure that we'll all do what his family asked, and we'll keep Barry in all our prayers. Oh, and finally, the link to the charity page for the football match is in the description box below, so please share that on your social medias and to raise as much money as we can for the NHS. Thanks.
Also, the show is sponsored by Skpe, proper grooming and precision engineered tools for men. Go to their website at www.menskpe.com and check out their range. And if you are going to purchase anything, use our code Celtic Rumours TV and get 20% off plus free shipping. Why not shave your balls while listening to the Bawz and Bovril podcast? Your wife will thank you for it. That's Manscaped at www.manscaped.com and you get 20% off plus shipping with our code Celtic Rumours TV.
There's also a link to that in the description box below. Paul, if you do want to speak a wee bit about what this is about, the advertising and that.
Well, basically, myself and Mark have got sponsorship for the podcast for the Euros. We'll see how it goes, and if we can kind of get sales for the Manscaped market, we'll get sponsorship.
We'll that, and as with any money that we would make out of this, it's going to go to improving the streaming, improving what we're doing. So it's hopefully it shows what we're doing is getting recognised a bit, Paul. We're in there kind of thing when companies are approaching us and work alongside us.
And it's not just a small company, Mark, so it's not.
No,
you know, this is.
No, it is not. I mean, they're worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
When it's I mean, we're talking about it's 20% off, and it's free shipping throughout the world, anywhere in the world, so.
Mm-hmm. Only with our code, or that's Celtic Rumours TV.
That guy's deal.
Keep plugging that. Keep plugging that.
And obviously, share the code as many times as you want as well for other people to use. So hopefully, we can get something a bit longer term going with them.
Exactly. So let's move on to the show tonight. Tonight we're going to take a look at the Scottish Premier League fixtures that were released on during the week. Our Champions League second qualifier against Midtjylland of Denmark. Early summer targets linked with Celtic through the media. So firstly we're going to have some rumours and gossip. New Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou phoned striker Lee Griffiths today to have a chat about his future at the club. As you know, Celtic haven't triggered the final year of Lee's contract. However, However, it seems that Ange is keen to contact Lee Griffiths himself this week. Speaking to Sky Sports, Lee said that the manager rang me on Tuesday, saying things like the meeting seemed very positive, according to Lee Griffiths. He said we'll have another chat next week, and when he meets up with the squad next week, and we will take it from there. In case you haven't missed it, like, I suppose, Mark, considering what's going on with players leaving and stuff like that, maybe Ange thinks that it's good to have Lee Griffiths around.
Well, I think I know that if a fit and mentally right Lee Griffiths would be an asset to his Paul, but it's whether he can get back to being that.
That's it. Like,
It's just
Ange has put his faith in him, hasn't he, by giving that phone call.
I'm falling down more on the side now that I think it's time that he should move on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, see, when you look back at his actual statistics and that, he's not really. See, for Ronnie Dyler left, he's not really been prolific.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really. It's been a bit.
That's down to his own downfall then as well, Mark.
Of course, a lot of that's
Yeah.
his own responsibility. He's got to take responsibility for his actions, even as I said, out with his mental health. You can't help blame anybody for that, but all these other problems that he's seemingly just brought on himself, he's got to take responsibility for that.
The only one, Mark, that can make this work for Celtic is Lee Griffiths.
Well, that's it.
Ange gave him his hand. It's up to Griffiths to take it, get himself fit as he can be for next season, and just hit the ground running.
I mean, I'm saying I think it's time maybe that he left, but I mean, it's equally delighted if he rammed the words down my throat, Paul. You know what I mean? If he did come back and showed us the player that we know that he can be.
So Istanbul, I'm just going to say Istanbul. I can't, but have confirmed they will not be taking an option to buy disgraced Celtic fella Boli Bangoli. The player will now return to Celtic for pre-season training next week. It will be interesting to see if the Celtic board decide to hold on to the player, or will they let him go if a fee comes in. Sunderland striker Charlie Wyke looks set to be joining Celtic at the end of the month on a free transfer. Charlie Wyke is in favour of a move to Celtic, and Celtic are also confident that the deal will be done. Arsenal have turned their attentions to Sheffield United goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale and will not be making a move for Celtic target Matt Ryan. Will Celtic now go for the keeper that supposedly Ange wants in, and he knows very well from their time with Australia? UEFA have ordered Celtic to pay Sheffield Wednesday £300,000 for Liam Shaw, who recently joined Celtic. Celtic will have to pay the compensation fee because Sheffield Wednesday agreed to let the player leave his contract a month early to join Celtic. The question.
That's an expensive month, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If that's all it was for a month, it cost them 300,000.
It was, and we're going to talk about Celtic targets later on, and I want to talk about Liam Shaw, because we're going to talk about, is he actually going to break into the first team, or is he going to be in and around the first team? Is he going to be another project? He's still only 20.
Reading what he was saying, and that, I think he's been told that he'll be in about the squad, Paul.
Hopefully, Mark.
I mean, I've said it before, I've said it before. It should be guys like the young players at 19 and 20 that are beefing up our squad and beefing up our bench. I mean, rather than guys like a Jet in that, even, you've got to look at even what they're. Do you get what I mean? These young guys deserve a chance to show what they can do. So I think.
And he can play centre midfield and he can play centre back.
Right.
He's a defensive midfielder and centre back. So it's an area, Mark, where we're clearly struggling now with Scott Brown leaving and defensive.
There's Scott Brown's left, right, fair dues, but if Beaton leaves, that young boy could easily take Beaton's place in the squad.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean the amount of games Beaton plays, is it no better a young 19 or 20, obviously injuries.
Get those games, Mark, in this, instead of having Beaton taking up a wage. you know.
more expensive. Beaton will be in bigger wages than Liam Shaw probably.
Hmm.
He's not fit. He is only a bit part player. Covers when we were bad with injuries this year, so he played. But that should, for me, that's a position in the squad that it should be like these younger guys taking up.
Exactly. So Marvin Sherwood looks like that he will be staying out on loan in Belgium with KV Michelin for a second season, according to Belgian media outlet JVA. That's no surprise, really, Mark, is it?
No,
Him staying out again. You know,
I think him himself kind of. I don't know if he's come out and actually said he doesn't want to come back to Celtic, but I think he doesn't fancy it much coming back.
hmm
We spoke before about it, how much. The problems he even had over there when he first went over, mind, and then all of a sudden something seemed to click with him, and the manager was raving about him after giving him pelters in the paper and things like that. So I don't think there's much future for Fred at Celtic now.
no, I really can't see, especially when a new managers are coming in, and if he's deciding to kind of stay out on loan as well, Mark himself, he wants to stay out on loan. He doesn't really want to come back.
He's not going to be. He's not going to come back next year and be in Angie's plans, is he? You know what I mean?
Mm.
He's not coming in at the start. He's brain.
It's a blast from the past with Celtic at the moment, as Celtic have been linked with former player and fan favourite Eric Shevchenko. Is this a good deal for the club to sign the former defender and bring him back to Celtic Park, or is it the board really don't really have other targets in the lineup? And is this an easy option for the club, and is it a cheap option again from the club? So,
I don't believe that. Honestly, but I said that to you yesterday when
mm,
we spoke about this, Paul. I, do, I find it really, really hard to believe that Celtic would be interested in bringing Sviatchenko back. I just, I just don't see what purpose it would send. I liked him. I did like him.
mhm.
He was a bit of a kind of cult player. He kind of a bit daft in that kind of idea.
when
But
when we're
he was
reading
as slow
about
as he was as slow as a week in jail, and now
yeah,
what, 3 or 4 years later. So I don't imagine he's getting any quicker as the years have gone by.
when we're reading the transfer targets, I'll give you the link how this link came up.
Oh, right, right.
So there's actually a reason why he's linked to Celtic, and it's actually involving Ange,
Oh,
why he's linked to Celtic. So there's actually a link there, and this is why I think it came up. Next, Peter Law has become a hate figure in recent years of Celtic, but it's time to put the Celtic hatred on hold for the moment, and Peter Law should be hailed as the man who saved the use of the Scottish football. Criminal organisations have been approaching young players at an early age, and have become their agents, and have introduced these players to the criminal side of football. The Scottish FA turned a blind eye to this situation, but one man stood up to protect and has come out and stood up to this football mafia. As you know by now, Peter Law's house and family home with his family inside was set alight. The man now is a target for all these football criminals, and his families that took football as well. So a serious note is not to for Scottish football, not just Celtic fans, for Scottish football to remember Peter Law as the man who was actually standing up to this football mafia, Mark. I think we can call it that, are targeting these young players at an early age.
it'll be all be to do with gambling and match fixing and things like that again, Paul. There's websites out there that's. Oh, I don't, to be honest, I don't know how much it's true, but see if 50% of it's true, it's absolutely shocking what actually goes on. And like the big leagues, like down in England and that, it's
Hmm.
mind boggling the kind of level, but it's ought to manipulate the Asian betting markets and stuff like that. And that's, as I said, it's really, really deep stuff and a bit dangerous. Well, obviously, we know that it's a bit dangerous with the stories that we've heard in that. That story with Peter Love, there was some rumours flying about it a while ago, and uh, I think it was one of the big English papers that actually covered it. I don't think the Scottish press ever
No,
said
no,
much
they
about it.
put they kind of put a kind of a blind eye to it, Mark, into like it's not going on in Scottish football kind of a thing, isn't it?
Aye,
You know?
because, I mean, Scotland's it's a wee backwater compared even to England when it comes to things like that. You would think, but so it doesn't really take much even to like influence a newspaper editor or things like that to keep their mouth shut these days. Do you know what I mean?
But he is a target now, Mark. For I don't want to be discussing it in kind of more detail or anything like that. But his house being set alight with his family inside it, not just him, but his family are in danger now as well because he stood up to these things and he seems to be out on his own with this kind of thing. That he doesn't seem to be getting kind of support from the Scottish FA or anything like that. You know.
I didn't seem like it for the articles and that I've read about it. It does seem to be like a kind of lone figure.
Hmm.
But
You know.
maybe that's down. I don't know. Maybe that was down to his kind of ECA membership.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Maybe it was a bit higher up the kind of UEFA food chain. That's where Peter Law's maybe get wind of this, and
Exactly.
it's a dodgy subject. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
obviously out there and it's happening. And it's just
And it,
young players can keep away from it and keep the
exactly.
straight and narrow kind of thing because it's. I mean, as I've said, Scotland's just a wee kind of backwater. It's even coming down to match fixing. It's easy enough to blackmail or bribe a referee. It really would be quite easy for these that kind of level
I,
that we're talking about. I'm not talking about just normal guys, but at that kind of level of criminality, it would be quite easy for them to match
with
fix.
with some of the refereeing the decisions the last couple of years, man,
Oh, that's
it'll seriously make you think. You
that's
know.
just the Masons. We know that. That's the Masons. But
You know.
I mean, it's some of the stuff on that, as I said, that I've read about it on the Asian betting market and that. It does make you think. It really does make you think that there could be things happening. But I mean, I read one. I read it took me about 2 hours to read the thing. But the boy had been into all these details and he'd all these stats and all that, and it was how Leicester winning the Premier League was the biggest betting con the world had ever seen, kind of thing. And it was a bit. It was like,
Dodgy kind of it. Yeah.
oh, see if he'd wrote a book or a film about it, it would have been a bestseller.
Jeez.
Do you know what I mean? It was just, I don't know where he was coming from with it because I don't think they've got that kind of power. Do you know what I mean? They could actually fix a full league, like to that extent. But this boy had done some amount of research into it. But as I said, if it'd been a film, it would have been a good film. But not for you to sit and believe it was true.
So, lastly, from the rumours, Ange Postecoglou looks like he's quarantined in London at the moment and is set to join up with Celtic training camp in Wales on Monday evening, early Tuesday morning.
You said he
That
was in Wales,
No, he's actually in London.
so you were wrong.
No, I was. So he's actually in London, and he's going to meet up with them. He doesn't have to quarantine in Wales if he's in London. So he's going to be in training down in Wales with the camp on late Monday evening or Tuesday morning. So
I thought it was July they went to Wales.
well, he's meeting up with the squad, I suppose, yeah, next week, Mark. So
Is that
unless he's going to Lennoxtown, is he?
well, next week that'll be like his isolation time up.
Yeah. So he must be coming straight to Lennoxtown. So
Be coming up here because I'm sure it's the beginning of July we get down to Wales.
you're right. The 7th of July, we're going down to Ting, and then we're playing around the 10th. We're playing their first friendly match in this down in
Training camp. I can't
yeah.
think the name of what it's called.
So he must be coming.
Well, that'll be his isolation period over when he'll be just coming up here now.
I was just thinking there today, and it's mightn't affect you but with this new Delta variant that's out there now, Mark, new quarantine rules are actually have to come in between Ireland and the UK. That you have to isolate now. If you didn't have to isolate before, if you were coming in from the UK, you could just go straight kind of out once you had your vaccination and your paper sorted. But now, if you're coming in from the UK to Ireland, you have to isolate for 10 days. There's nothing like that between Scotland and England, is there?
No, I don't think so, Paul. No, because all these Scottish, there's a team, what are Scottish people away down to Scotland, down to look
England today.
football, aye.
Yeah.
Although they
So
told them not to go down in that, but it seems there's been a right few have been there. I saw some videos on Twitter and that, so
yeah, today I'd seen him today. Like so, so if he's going, like, he really has time. So Mark to prep the team that's going to be there. If he is coming in next week, because he's quarantined, surely be going to be up by now. If he's actually in London, that's what I mean. He's actually in London in a hotel quarantine today, and that's where he rang Lee Griffiths, and it was actually Lee Griffiths that leaked this through the phone call that we're going to meet up next week and talk face to face about my future and where to go. So he must be coming up the next thing next week, and he does. If he does come up, Mark, he really does have time to kind of prep himself as well around the squad.
see apart from like the timing of when he was appointed and how long it took, no matter who was appointed, he was never going to meet the players to the day that Big Angie's going to meet the players,
Hmm.
even without the quarantine, because the players are. This is their kind of time off. They know they're not due to report back to next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, even no matter when he was appointed or who was appointed, he still wouldn't have got to meet the players till next week. So when it comes down to the time working with the players, it's not going to really make much difference.
Hmm.
The thing is, he's no that as long to plan as we'd have liked him to had in that. But I mean, he's been stuck in a hotel for 10 days, living and breathing football. So
Yeah.
he'll have done plenty of work on that, plenty of it.
So his work will start. Celtic will begin their new season on the 31st of July away to Hearts at Tyneside.
And I'll just bring your fixtures up on the screen there, Paul. I made a wee
Hmm.
cut off of them.
I'll just continue.
Aye, on you go.
August the 7th, we're going to be home to Dundee. August the 21st, we're home to St. Mirren. And then on the 28th of August, the first Glasgow derby against Rangers at Ibrox. I suppose, Mark, the first game against Hearts it's always a tough place to go to for any team, isn't it? Tynecastle, isn't it?
Oh, it's,
Tynecastle, or
it's
Tyneside,
never easy to go there. That's
you know?
well, I don't know what it's going to be with the fan situation and that, but it's probably apart from going to a away game at Ibrox, it's probably as close you'll get to like a baptism of fire in Scotland. If it was a full house at Tynecastle, you kind
And especially with Hearts kind of coming back into the league as well, Mark. They want to show that they deserve to be in the league, and it's a tough start for Ange to be starting, but you expect him to win, or we need to win, Mark.
still expect.
Dundee and say, and we need to we should be beating Dundee and St Mirren as well.
Well, Hearts. I mean, really, Hearts is it's still just like a team that's just been promoted. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't.
Exactly.
It's really, it's more, it would be more if the fans were in, if it was going to be a full house and the atmosphere kind of thing, I'd be more worried about. I'm not really that worried about just like playing Hearts that are just a newly promoted team.
Hmm.
That'll be a tough game for.
It's the tough game.
It
It
will be a
is,
tough
Mark. It's
game.
it's it's a tough start. Like, but the fourth game, Mark, of the season against Rangers, would you be for to play that in the later date, as it always kind of been kind of around October, September, or has it come the right time?
Does
And we see where we're going under Ange, and see how
does
how he's going to play against them.
doesn't matter when we play them, Paul. We've got to play them. That's this season or the last game of the season. Doesn't really matter. It's still a derby game, and it'll still mean the exact same as all the rest of them have meant to us.
It it's already like, and it's really going to kind of set the pace for the season as well, Mark. Isn't it? Like who's going to we're going to be underdogs going into this match. Obviously, I think, and I think it's going to show a lot of fans what way he approaches this game. Like, will we like let him? Will it be a slow approach? But I don't. I can see him going straight out attack
Uh,
Rangers.
well, see people have read him and been told about him and that. I don't see him being out there and holding any fear of Rangers. You know, you watched the Celtic Rangers games for last season. saw how they play, because they never changed the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
We were chopping and changing the way we played. They never changed the way they play. So he's got today is
And see, that's the thing as well, Mark. Like Gerard knew uh, Lennon's system. He had it down to a T. He knew what way Lennon would play, what way Lennon would set up. He knew the players that were probably more than likely going to start. But Gerrard and Rangers are going into the unknown in this match. What way Big Ange's going to set up, who they actually. We're going into the unknown. The fans are going into the unknown. We don't know what players are going to be
uh,
at Celtic next season.
but Big Ange isn't getting into the unknown, because Rangers will still play the exact
Yeah,
same way. That's it. Do you know what I mean?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's actually Rangers going into the unknown, isn't it?
It's them that don't know what they're going to be coming up against. But obviously they'll buy new players and they'll probably be a wee bit better than what they've got and things like that. But Rangers will still play the same way of football that they've been playing. There's no doubt about that. And Big Ange has hopefully spotted it and spotted weaknesses in it that he can set us up to expose these weaknesses in them. Because we've
Mm-hmm.
seen it before, they're not.
They're just well drilled.
Yeah, that's all they are, just well organised and well drilled. There's no kind of flair or excitement about them.
And what we're reading about Ange, like he's well drilled, his structure, his tactics. You know, he's the manager, Mark, I think that Celtic need at the moment to go in into this new era. You know.
Oh, I've said seems to tick all the boxes apart from being a well-known name, and
Mm-hmm.
he's coming across well in interviews and obviously saying the right things he's been told to say in the interviews and that. But for what we even speaking to Gavin and that, I do honestly think we've got a lot to look forward to, Paul. I really do.
So you said that we're going into the Derby game, Mark, right? That Celtic should be going into Venice and think. With it so early, Mark, in the season, and considering we lost with three, I think, and we drew two against Rangers last season, or maybe four, we lost and drew one. Is it a must win for Celtic so early on in the season, considering the advantage Rangers had last season, the games against Celtic last season?
Oh, that put me in the spot there, Paul. Every Derby game's a must-win, isn't it?
It's must win. I think I was thinking, Mark, that
Still, I mean, obviously, I'd love us to win it. I hope we win it. But if we don't, then the excuse is come out, okay, it's only the first one of the season. We've still to play them another three times into that kind of thing.
but it's going to set the tone early, isn't it?
If Ange comes in and we win that, it's certainly
Yeah.
setting a marker. Do you know what I mean? And if Rangers win it, it's setting down a marker to Ange that's what he's up. That's the level. That's what he's got to beat. He's got to know at the end of the season to work out how to beat them. Then.
Hmm. So not only have the Scottish fixtures come out, but our Champions League fixtures have came out, and Celtic will start their second round qualifier against Midtjylland on Tuesday the 20th at 8 p.m. Mark, I think this is the best team that we could have asked to face, considering there was Galatasaray, Rapid Vienna, the other two teams that we could have faced.
No, I don't think we could have been any luckier with the draw. But although it's still going to be a tough game, still going to
Hmm.
be tough to get by them. But I just thank God we didn't get Galatasaray. See when that first came out about the three teams we could have got,
Yes.
but definitely didn't want to get them. No, but obviously, I'm not going to say Midtjylland's the easiest team, but Vienna would have still been a tough couple of games for us. But Midtjylland's probably more suited to our kind of
Hmm.
level than now, I'd imagine.
And if we get through to the third round, we could end up facing the likes of Spartak Moscow, Benfica, Shakhtar Donetsk. We'll be waiting for Celtic in the next round. With and attacking mentality, he's well focused on tactics. He's high press. I would think, Mark, we should at least get into the third round. I would be confident by listening to him and the way the manager he is, that he's a winning manager. He wants to win every game. I'd be fairly confident that we would beat Midtjylland and get through to the third round. But there's tough teams there facing Celtic there.
It's taking it up another level again into that. Some of the teams you've mentioned there, it would be. I said that I've said it all along. I really think it'll be a big ask for us to get to the group stages of the Champions League this year.
Even if you faced anyone between them, Spartak Moscow, Benfica, or Shakhtar Donetsk, they're not only are they tough home games, but with Celtic's record away, there's a lot of travel if we go to Spartak Moscow, Shakhtar Donetsk. If we go there so early in the season as well,
I wouldn't fancy, to be honest, I wouldn't fancy against any of them to get through. Maybe give them a good game, maybe sneak a win at Parkhead, but I wouldn't fancy to get through over 2 legs against any of them, Paul. When's the cut off to go down to the Europa League?
Well, if we get knocked out against Midtjylland, I think we go into the playoffs from the second round into the Europa League, and then we go into the group stage then in the third round if we get knocked out of that.
So if we get knocked out against like Benfica, that we get straight into the groups of the
into group stage, yeah.
I think that'll be where I think that's where we'll be this year, Paul.
But that's at this stage, Mark. I think that's the level we're at the moment. Celtic, Europa League. I think that's where we're at.
I think that's really been our level when we have done well in the Champions League. I think basically we've punched above our weight.
Exactly.
It's been down to, at the time, good management and like good performances and that's done it. It's not because we've like kind of bought the kind of success. Do you know what I mean? We're not going out and spending. We've been moaning about it. We're not going out and spending money to make it a Champions League team. Do you know what I mean? We're not doing that. We've just been spending money to keep us above them in Scotland and ticking out in Europe with the odd time we get into the Champions League. So I think Celtic basically ran like a Europa League team.
So Ange Postecoglou was speaking to Celtic TV today, and he has claimed that Celtic can't be more prepared for the Champions League qualifier against Midtjylland. He was quoted today on Celtic TV. I'm keen to hit the ground running and to get as much work as done before I get there. But my own is that I can't be more prepared, and that what we are at the moment, and that the team is in good conditions, and we know what we have to face in Midtjylland. I'm fully confident that once I hit the ground, we will get started, and I'm really excited about the fact that we have something good to look forward to, and that we have a target to hit in the next 5 to 6 weeks. He also said that the work has already started. To be fair, a lot of the lads, the staff and the club have already been putting plans in place. I'm talking to them on a daily basis, so they already know how I want things to work. Mark, I suppose to mean by that, we spoke like that, so even though he's in quarantine, work is already being done. He's in contact maybe to the fitness coaches, John Kennedy and Strachan, if they're going to be looking after the thing while he's down and things. So he is kind of getting the team prepared as best he can, isn't he?
It's the thing about it is, Paul, seeing the modern age, this day and age, look what we've done, sitting with a wee laptop and that. We've got guys for Australia and that on here, do you know what I mean? So all these Zoom things and that, there'll be constant meetings and stuff like that going on, and like these Zoom calls and that with Ange and Hopeful Dominic Mackay and other people that will just want to talk to and have a chat with and get to kind of know before they actually meet them face to face. I mean, it'll be a kind of, not an interview kind of idea, but you'd imagine it's a kind of process that he's been introduced to. Do you know what I mean? This is so and so, this is what he does. You just get a kind of feel of how each other operates and things like that.
But
stuff in the hotel room won't make any difference to his plans.
But what's your take on we're prepared as the best way we can? Like, do you think he knows that the players that he has, that they're drilled, and that he knows that more players are after coming in, and the work is actually being done behind the scenes now, Mark, in getting these players in before the Champions League qualifier?
I think there's got to be some movement with that in the next at least couple of weeks. I think surely, Paul, there'll be one or two signings even for getting down to the training camp in Wales.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're really the bare minimum, even number-wise.
That's 17 players, I think, are turning up to pre-season training next week. That's because of players being away on international duty. So there's going to be 17 to 18 players turning up to Celtic pre-season next week. That's not even a full squad, Mark, to work with. And I presume a lot of them, Mark, would be youth players.
Well, and then, I mean, like Edward, do we want Edward to be turning up for pre-season training?
And speaking of Edward, the news broke today, and I just sent it to you there, just so I wonder. Leicester and Edward's deal has broken down. The talks between them have broken down.
That means that doesn't really mean anything to Celtic, really, didn't it? No.
I think it's going to be anything that maybe Arsenal will come in with a bid, Mark. You know.
Well, Arsenal were one of the other teams that were interested in him, but I don't know why the deal with Leicester broke down, whether he's been greedy with money or whatever, because he seemed to be quite far down the line with it.
Like I thought, I'm speaking to Barry as well, like that. You kind of want the players out, Mark, who want to leave kind of straight away. You know, you don't want kind of that unsettled players in and around the squad.
That just eats away the good feeling and the team, whatever the team spirit. If you've got negative people moaning and that, and you can tell out in training, you can tell even during games that they're not interested, it would get to you. For a start, it would scunner you, wouldn't it? If you're running about there giving 100% and the other guys no bother on their backside, you're going to say something. And then it causes animosity, arguments and that. So if players don't want to be there, it's just, I'm not saying just sell them for the sake of selling them, but get them out the door as quick as you possibly can.
Or even put them into reserves, Mark. You know what I mean? If they want to leave, don't have them in the first team. You know, you put them out to the reserves, them training their own, or, you know.
I don't know if Celtic could do that with somebody like Edward without
Yeah, true.
instructions kind of thing.
The likes of the kind of group that he was supposedly in, with the likes of Julian and all them, I say.
You'd start getting stories getting dripped to the press via his agent about how bad things were and all that carry on. I don't think there's really any animosity towards any specific player. Probably, I think a lot of the players will feel they've been let down. A lot of them will feel they've let themselves down, but a lot of them will feel let down by some of their teammates as well, I think. But I don't think it would come to like actual animosity, and that would like affect.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of standing at the club. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there would be obviously the changing room. I'm saying it can spread, the animosity can spread in there, but I don't think it would be. It's not like school ground stuff, you know what I mean? Like, right, we're not talking to him, we'll all go and huddle in the corner and whisper about him kind of idea. I mean, they're still grown men.
Mm-hmm. Like I was thinking to myself there today, you know, if I was a player and if I was Ange, and if you're going into the Champions League qualifiers, it's his first time ever as a manager, kind of coming into European football, Mark. So he's not going to want to lose. He's going to want to have that winning mentality as well. But it's the players as well. The players know that are going to be there just need to forget about next season, buy into Ange's philosophy, and buy into his positivity. That when he was speaking today, like you could feel the positivity off him, Mark. And it was exactly what Gavin was saying to me, that he's a positive person, and if you buy into him, he'll make you a better player. But the players now need to just buy into Ange and hit the ground running with him as well, don't they? You know?
Well, for all we know, Paul, I mean, some of these young players could take this chance by the scruff of their neck.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? There we're talking about we'll maybe be struggling for players and kind of thing for these qualifiers. Maybe some of these young players will step right up to the mark and will maybe no need to buy. Do you get what I mean? There'll be a
Exactly, the likes of Luke O'Connell,
it's a good
Henderson, they could step up, Mark. That we, it's like we said before, Mark, on previous podcasts. We don't know what these players are capable of because we don't see them. We might see them for 2 minutes of a game or the last 10 minutes of a game, and you can't judge a player on 10 minutes of a game, Mark. You can't.
no, you can, you know. I mean, that's okay. As we spoke, it's okay to give young players 10 minutes and 20 minutes and that, but in certain games, if a young player's playing, if he's playing well enough to get the last 20 minutes against, say, Hearts, if they're sitting at 2-0 up, he's good enough to start a game against a lower league team. Do you get what I mean? And you've got to nurture them that way.
Hmm.
No, I mean, I'm not saying you just throw them into games, but they've got to be playing. They've got to be getting enough time to play with to show what they can do. As you say, you can't judge a player when they're getting 2 and 3 minutes on the park.
It'd be interesting to if we could get Barry's thoughts maybe on the next podcast and when he's available next week. He said he's working at the moment, but what's it like for like the first day, Mark, of a manager coming to a club? What do you think Big Ange will do? We just sit the players down in a room, talk to him, his philosophy, the way he does things, and the way he trains. Do you think maybe diets and stuff like that would maybe come into it?
I think it'll be a part of his kind of introduction, which expected of them. I expect you to follow your fitness and your sports. Expect you to follow the programs and do exactly what these people are telling you to do. He's,
Hmm.
it'll be part of his. This is what you do. If you want to play for this club and under me, these are the rules that you follow.
And yeah, exactly, Mark. And if you're not buying into it, Celtic board need to back him, Mark. If he said, look, this player is not part of my thing, sell him. The board need to start listening to the manager, what players he wants, what players he don't want, and just let him do what he needs to do in the first team. Otherwise, Mark, he's not going to succeed at Celtic. Do you know?
He'd be really struggling if the board starts showing like the kind of favouritism towards players. Is it, did, I mean, did Scott Brown's influence kind of reach that kind of level of the boardroom and that?
Hmm.
So you can't. It's got to be until whenever or whatever with a director of football. But if a player isn't based buying into the manager's basic ideas and way of doing things, it shouldn't be there.
Like, Mark, I know we talked about this a lot of times and things like that, and he's come out and said he's going to think about his own future, but it's really puzzling that we haven't seen nothing of a backroom team coming in from Ange, because if he's going to come in here, and we said last podcast, if he's going to be in training supposedly next week, I think, and if his backroom team are from Yokohama or Broadern, they're not from the UK or Scotland, they're going to have to quarantine as well for 10 days, and he's not going to have his own kind of people that he wants behind him either for another 10 days, Mark. It's just,
I thought
in a way,
I thought it was strange that if he was bringing anybody with him, that they didn't come over at the same time.
yeah.
I mean, or did they? We just don't know.
But that's it. Maybe they're going to all be named next week together, or he's going to have a things that maybe Celtic might
I mean,
bring in
I can't
a
remember.
next player.
I can't. Has he mentioned
No,
in any of his interviews or that about bringing his
no,
coaches in?
no,
I said for all we
no.
know, the boys could be doing in this hotel with him.
And what I found was very interesting is that Celtic TV didn't ask the question either. So I'm predicting like us, Celtic TV scripted to what they can say to him, Mark.
Well, I think they are. I think they're kind of it's just kind of puff pieces into. They never really ask any kind of probing questions. I think if you're going on Celtic TV, you're kind of told what questions you're going to be asked before it. And do
Hmm.
you get what I mean? I don't think they're not going to ask you anything that's going to rock the boat, really, are they?
Exactly. So we're going to move on from the Scottish fixtures and the European fixtures, and hopefully Big Ange will be in next week, and we can kind of see kind of a players coming in or players going and what kind of players he will bring in. But one player who is at Celtic at the moment, and it's our first sign of the summer, but he was signed on a pre-contract in July, which Celtic now have to pay 300,000 for him, as Sheffield Wednesday left him go free a month early to join Celtic. That's defensive midfielder and centre back, as he can also play, is Liam Shaw, 20 years old. Mark and myself spoke about him there, that he should be in around the first team. It's a clean slate for everyone, Mark. So there's no worry, Mark, why he should be getting a game in pre-season, see what he's like, see what the fans like, see what Ange thinks of him, because he's not an Ange signing, really, Mark, is he?
No,
You know?
no, he's obviously not an Ange signing, but we've spoken. Somebody's made the decision, and I mean, a lot of the Sheffield Wednesday fans are kind of talking the guy up. He seems to be a bit of a player, a half decent
hmm
player, Paul. So again,
hmm
it's up to this young, it's up to him to come in and show that he should should be in and about the first team squad.
See, that's what I remember when Barry was saying it, like, that he's coming up to Celtic now, Liam Shaw. He was playing first team football for Sheffield Wednesday. And it was the same with Luke O'Connell when we signed him. He was playing first team football for Bolton. And then when Luke O'Connell came up, Mark, he was just thrown into a non-existent youth academy, you could say, Mark, who had no games, who he was just sitting, basically, I say, Mark, in Lennoxtown, kicking the ball with a group of young fellas. So if we're signing them, and if they're good enough, Mark, they should be in and around the first team. Maybe not start every game, but they should be around the first team anyway, training. If we're signing 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, they should be in and around the first team. They're at that age, Mark, when they should be around the first team.
Aye, they should be at that age. They should be getting integrated into the first team squad.
Like my thing of a youth project, Mark, a youngster is 16, 17, maybe 18, and maybe they have 18, then a year or two, and maybe a year in the youth academy. And if they're good enough, then they can step up to the first thing. But not a 20-year-old, Mark, and 21-year-old to go straight into the youth academy.
No,
You know?
it should be first team squad. Kind of, as I've said before to you, Paul, with the amount of substitution places you're allowed, and the amount of substitutions you're allowed to make, there's plenty room in squads for these young players to take up. But
hmm
we seem to fill them with these with kind of middle of the road type of signings that don't they're not going to progress any further, and they're just taking up wages, they're just taking up a squad place, whereas you should be using that squad place to help the youngsters progress their career with more experience on the park. That's the only
hmm
players are going to get better is with good coaching and playing games. You
Exactly.
look at Luke O'Connell, they're coming in, and there's no games for them to play. Their squad's that bloated that they couldn't get near the first team squad kind of idea.
And
You can't blame them for getting out, for looking to go out on loan when they're.
And especially when I was saying today in the previous podcast, when he got called up to the Ireland under 21s, and he said that Noel Whelan, the Ireland under 21 said he wasted 2 years of his career at Celtic, and those 2 years, Mark, were under Lennon.
But
You know.
not just, I suppose you can put a lot of the blame at Lennon, but you've also got to put the blame at the SFA and the SPFL, and even at the club Celtic, with with no reserve league, there's no games for these boys to play.
But what happened there, Mark? Was that due to the fact over COVID, or how long has the reserve league been gone?
It's been a couple of years now, Paul. It's just one of the craziest. I don't know why it get voted through. It's just one of the craziest decisions that I've ever
Mhm.
known. Like people in general.
And not just for Celtic, like, but for the Scottish national team alone, Mark. In this, like, how are you supposed to progress your own homegrown players if you don't have a proper league system there?
That's exactly it. And but we're going about trying to produce young players. You're not going to produce young players when they've not got any actual. Although it's, it's still competitive. It's not the highest level, but it's still competitive games playing against other teams for trophies, for this, for that. But just to take away that league altogether was just absolutely crazy.
And I'm looking now, Mark, that
It's a void. I've
uh,
spoken before about Scotland seem to do okay in producing players till they get to like 19, 20, 21, and then there's a kind of abyss. They can't make the next step up.
mhm.
Do you know what I mean? If you look back over the years, Scotland's always had good youth teams in that, but very, very few of them actually make a step up to actual being professionals at the top of even the Scottish game kind of thing. And not having a reserve league for them to play in, it just made that even wider and even harder for young players to break into a first team. If you're not playing in reserve games, how are you meant to catch the manager's eye?
Mhm. So like, we're looking at that. So the core thing is the next, the core Celtic team is the next best thing, Mark, we're going to have to a resolved league. But that's another area that has kind of no attention by the board at the moment. They've no coaches for that thing at the moment. They've no manager. They don't know what players are going to be in there yet. You know, the board really needs to get acting fairly fast. It's put on a standstill until the 1st of July till Dominic Mackay comes in, don't it?
See this time with the Colts team.
Mm-hmm.
When we spoke about it, I was really against it, and even Barry was against it. See, honestly, Paul, see some of the guys that are playing in the charity match,
Mm-hmm.
kind of level with players that these Colts are going to be playing, probably even worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean? But that's the kind of level it's just, why is it?
Do you want your young players playing in that league, Mark, picking up injuries like the likes of these players like who are probably part time and going in for tough tackles, playing and
Exactly.
pitches would be the best. Pitches would be the best out of Mark, I say, would they?
Oh well, that's another thing as well. I mean, even where Celtic Colts going to play their games.
Hmm. That's it. I don't know. Maybe
So, I mean, this is meant to be. Is it this season? It's happening.
this season, yeah, it's going to be starting up. Is there some cup thing that starts down the lower leagues in about 3 weeks? There's actually 3 to 4 weeks. There's actually a small little kind of a pre-season cup that happens. I look into it for the next podcast and I get that up and running, Mark.
Is We're saying if it's meant to be happening for this season, there's been absolutely nothing.
I heard a rumor, and I was actually amazed when it came out, and I couldn't see why he would come down to the call team was John Hughes. Like if I was taking John Hughes, I would have him walking along Big Ange as his assistant because he knows the league.
Oh, definitely. There's no way John Hughes is going to come to Celtic to run a Colts team
Yeah, I could like that's like
unless he was coming in some other kind of capacity in kind of in the youth setup, but doing that kind of
yeah,
part time. But he's not going to just come into. I mean, John Hughes will get a manager's.
an experienced manager, Mark.
Oh, he'll get a
You know,
job in the Premier League, our Premier League. Obviously, he'll get a job in the Premier League.
like Ross County were kind of
He's a
surprised that he left. And I was surprised when he left. Was it Ross County he left, Mark, wasn't it?
Ross County,
And I was surprised he left Ross County as well so early.
but he'll get
You know,
a job at a lot higher level than managing Celtic Colts. To me, that'd be a bit. Even if Celtic approached him and asked him if he wanted to do that, that's a bit of a slap in the face, I think.
you know, there could be something there. Like you never know. Maybe Celtic will do what they
Maybe
did with Ronnie Doyle. You know,
Kennedy will take.
I said that in a previous podcast that there'd be a role that he could be Mark. That's his managing career. That's the level maybe John Kennedy's at the moment.
Well, maybe him and Gavin Strachan, because everybody.
Well, see, Gavin Strachan won't go there because they'll be playing out in the field and he won't get Wi-Fi for the laptop.
I was going to say they're keeping him on. He's the only one that knows the Wi-Fi.
Password Celtic 88. And they keep taking out the letters at the start of it. That's why they keep getting it wrong. So, former Celtic player, now I'll tell you the link here on this. Former Celtic player Eric Shevchenko. Mark, this is a deal that has been gathering legs for the last couple of days, and said that a lot of Celtic fans would welcome the former Celtic player back to Celtic Park when he will be back at Celtic Park in 5 weeks time. But will he be a Midtjylland player or will he be a Celtic player? But Beganj said he knows the type of player he already is, as he's been watching Midtjylland for the last couple of years because of their danger man, A.U. Malbury, who is involved in the Australian national team and is Australian's danger man as well as Midtjylland. So that's where the link has come, that there's an Australian international.
This is like that thing. What is it? 6 steps for Kevin Bacon or something like that, is it? Kind of Hollywood thing that everybody in Hollywood's got 6 connections somehow to that Kevin Bacon or something.
Yeah.
Just looking for all these into the actual any kind of link at all to Big Ange, and that's one of our signing targets, isn't it?
Exactly. But I was looking at there today, right? Now, he said he does know him, and he knows the type of player he is, and he knows Midtjylland. But that's why I'm feeling confident against Celtic against Midtjylland, because Ange has been watching him due to this Australian player being involved with him, Max. So he's obviously been watching Midtjylland for numerous years. So I feel confident going into that game, right?
Well, that's a good thing. Maybe going into the qualifiers.
But as you said, like, you find it strange that we're being linked to Shevchenko. Now, my thinking, Mark, if it is true, if we are being linked to him, right, is that bad business by the board again, Mark, that we're not going out looking for new players, that we're going to a previous player who, as you said, Mark, he was even slow 4 years ago when he was with us. So obviously he's going to be slower now.
No, you go, Paul.
And basically, Mark, is it bad business or bad transfer business or bad business right across our scouting system, Mark, if we can't identify new players to come in, that we're going back to a previous player?
I said earlier on, I really can't get my head around what the thinking is behind it. If there's any truth in it, Paul, you know what I mean? Again, it's just rumours, and it was no good. It was just so slow. That's what it was. And see if the way Ange just said these teams want to play, I don't see how Fyachenko would fit into that system.
Exactly, Mark, because he, like, going what Gavin was saying, and does a high press. So if you're doing a high press, your defence is going to push up as well. And Shevchenko's not going to be able to do a high press, Mark, and get back. I mean, if we do sign him, right, and if we get new left backs, there's your 2 new left back covering Shevchenko's lack of pace already. Isn't it?
You're going to leave somebody exposed. That's exactly what's going to happen. Just as we saw, Duffy kept getting exposed. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's how I would put it, right? That's how I would kind of compare it. It would remind me kind of a Duffy kind of signing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Duffy, obviously, it didn't work out for him in that. But
danger man for the corners, Mark, and then not good in defeat. Because Scottish football has changed, hasn't it? It's gone from really the long ball, isn't it? Like it was a couple of years, Mark. It was a long ball game before in Scotland, and that's gradually dying out because quality players, Mark, you would say, are after coming into the Scottish game. The young players are faster, they're younger, they're faster, they're fast with the ball. That's why Duffy couldn't. I think Duffy thought he was coming into a long ball game in Scotland.
Well, again, it was probably the way Celtic were set up as well. But a lot of players think that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players do think, and for years Scotland did have that kind of reputation. It was just a punt up the park and everybody chased it and that.
But yeah, because you always had like the Hearts and Sutton. Do you know what I mean? Those days are gone, Mark. Like
we all catch up eventually. Do you get what I mean? It just takes a bit of time, but I think the overall standard in Scotland, just in general, the type of football that has got better over the last few years. Like
even on the live chat there from Bobby and from Rob, like there's still question marks over Shevchenko coming back. Like, fair enough, Mark. He was a fan favourite. Fans loved him, and Shevchenko himself still loves him, but that's not a factor.
No, that does just because he's a fan favourite. As I said, I liked him myself, kind of thing. Just he was that kind of rough and ready kind of defender I liked. But just being a fan favourite doesn't make you a good player. Look at Paddy McCourt.
Hmm.
Look at the kind of fan favourites. It's just that for a football side of things, I just can't see why
So
any kind of deal for Sverchenko.
Eric was speaking to Danish media today, and there was no questions about Celtic or anything like that, but he's come out saying that he's still only 29 years old. He still has a lot of years in him, that he's matured as a player, and he's a better player now than he was when he was last at Celtic, and he's better at reading the game. There's hints there, Mark, still, like, in there.
I would feel like that's the only thing that you can be good at to make up for no having pace is being really good at reading the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, they're defenders and that's what they do. They're not exactly the most mobile, but they read the game that well. They're in there that quick for the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he's changed that much in that, I mean, he's got to have been on other teams' radars for.
Exactly, and he hasn't been, Mark.
Exactly. He's been in the UK. He's been played in the UK for Celtic. So if other managers would have known him,
And especially too, like with Denmark being in the Euros, Mark, and he's not called up to the Danish national team either. So
I never even gave that a thought, Paul.
he's not. He's not in the Danish squad either. So, Mark, if he's not getting called up by Denmark and he's not able to play against the top players in Europe, like, he's not going to do nothing for Celtic in Europe either against these top teams, is he?
No, I've seen somebody saying in the live chat he's good enough for the Scottish League. I've said that about a load of players myself, so I would
Exactly.
agree. He's good enough for the Scottish League, but see, coming in at 29, he's pushing.
29.
He's not good enough to play in the bigger games for his kind of idea and that. So for me, that's him right away. Keep him back like a young.
Yeah, you won't be confident. Yeah, exactly.
Who else should be keeping out the team?
Would you be confident in Welch, Julian, and Shevchenko as your three centre backs for next season, Mark? That's weak. That's weak. It is weak. And
Big Julian, I don't think Big Julian's got much a long-term future at Celtic.
Especially these injuries, Mark, and everything in this.
The reason he just doesn't fancy the physical side of the game.
Mark, we paid a lot of money for Julian, like.
I know.
We paid a lot of money for defender, like, it was like 6-7 million, I think, Mark, was it?
About 7.5 off the top. 7, I'm sure it was 7. I mean, don't get us wrong, seeing the right kind of team, a ball, like you call it a ball playing centre half in that, but gets plenty of time with the ball, aye, he'll do, but see when it comes to the blood and guts, which is a big part of the Scottish game, he's no interested. It's just so lightweight, he just doesn't, even in Scotland against the smaller teams, they've got big muscly centre forwards that are going to fight and tug and pull, and he's just no interest in that side of the game whatsoever.
Sure, when he was playing and it was against, he had a hard time with him, Mark. He couldn't defend against him. Shanklin, yeah, couldn't get the grips at that game, so he couldn't.
Anybody that gets in, Julian's jostling him.
Yeah.
He's no interested. That's them the beating him the full game.
Mm-hmm. But going back to what I was saying, like, it would be bad business by the board, Mark, if we're looking at a next player to come in that we're not looking outside the box to see what else is out there. I'd be for to have a look down our youth system and have Stephen Welch playing, Mark, then bringing back in Eric Shevchenko, to be honest.
Well, that's what I said there. To me, he's not coming in as a first choice. He can't be. But if he's coming in to take out what the players have been talking about, Paul, they're just taking up squad places, holding back young players. That would just be another one of the kind of signings for me.
Like you said there, like Liam Shaw coming in, Mark. Like if we get rid of Beaton, there's Liam Shaw's place guaranteed in the first team.
Exactly. And for the amount of games we play, the amount of,
Beat on about 10 games, not even, Mark, I say.
but
Half them,
there's
you
plenty
know.
of games between the leagues, the two cups, even in Europe and things like that. There's plenty of games Celtic play for these young players to get game time to help them progress. And over the last few years, it's just not happened.
Mhm.
The
Uh,
only reason Welsh's get game time is through injuries.
exactly,
If we
exactly.
in the day injury problems this season, Paul Welsh wouldn't have been near that squad.
And he was actually speaking in an interview yesterday as well, Mark, with Celtic TV, and he's actually excited about Big Ange coming in because of his involvement in youth players, and even well said it that he's the type of manager that can help me as a player and who will help me progress my career. So if your youth players are confident in the manager, Mark, they're going to step up to the plate as well, aren't they? Because he's putting their trust in them, so they're going to put their trust in him.
But even at that, what Big Ange just said, these young players know that they're going to get a chance if they work
Hmm.
hard enough and show that they can do it.
Yeah,
They will get a chance.
because that's what Gavin was saying, Mark. Weren't they? And you were impressed with that as well. That he said age doesn't matter. That he's not afraid to drop players. You know, he dropped all the big players in the Australian team. He
It's,
got stick to it.
I stood
Look,
up to the FA, stood up to the
yeah,
Australian FA that he was
yeah.
sticking with the young players.
And he got us one player that he did bring into the Australian team when he dropped Mark Schwarzer at the time when Australia qualified for the Euro is Brighton goalkeeper Matt Ryan. Arsenal have now came out said they're not interested in the player anymore. That they're going to turn their attentions to Sheffield United goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale, who will be available next season as Sheffield United were relegated and they want to bring down their wage bill. Uh, I've watched Matt Ryan Mark for numerous things because I watch the Premier League as well. I sit down, Mark. I'd watch two flights play football if I could. So, but I like this keeper, Mark. You know, I like he
Yes,
Premiership experience, Mark. He's international experience, and none of our keepers would come near to him. What we have now, and plus, Ange knows him, and I don't know if Ange came out and said it, Mark, that he wants him, but he only has a year left in his contract. Brighton aren't offering him a new contract because they're another club, Mark, who have to bring down their wage bill to bring in new players for next season. You know, so he is available, Mark. I say 5 million. I say we could get him for not even maybe cheaper 3 million, considering he's on the last year of his contract. And if Ange knows him, Mark, it's a no-brainer for me.
oh, it would
You
be,
know,
it would be a good signing. It would be as a good keeper. What age is he?
29.
Do you know what I mean? He's still probably his best years are still in front of him as a goalkeeper.
That's what the goalkeeper mark.
Uh,
The 28, 29 mark is when a goalkeeper starts coming into his own. Like I was surprised
if we
that he
could,
got dropped by
if we
Brighton.
could get rid of Barkas, I mean, well, I don't know what is Encham actually signed for AEK yet.
No, that kind of has gone on the back burner now again. You see, yeah,
I mean, because then we get into about the deal that was supposedly they were cancelling what we owed AEK
yeah.
for
So
Barkas.
you don't want the 5 million keeper sitting on the bench, right, Mark? Do
No,
you?
no, I don't think that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If we can get some kind of money or our money back on Barkas and get him out and bring in that boy Ryan, I think that would be a good move.
Mhm. What about the guys in the live chat? Have you seen any matches of Matt Ryan? Would you be interested in Celtic maybe going for it? Because it is an area, Mark, that we need to improve. If Barkas is going to be our number one keeper next season, we still need a decent backup keeper because we saw this year that Scott Bain isn't up for us.
No, I don't think Bain. I've said it before, Paul. I think
Yeah,
Baines went backwards.
yes.
If we signed Bain, I think Bain's a worse goalkeeper now than he was when we signed him.
When he signed him.
And that's really strange considering he's working with Stevie Woods every day.
And why is that, Mark? Like, is it a confidence issue around all our keepers, or is it the fact that our defence has been so poor and they're exposed more?
Well,
You know?
that's a big part of it. The goalkeepers, well, we've said it before, Paul, they kind of rely on it. settled defence and so that they can work as a unit.
Because when I played soccer, it was a long time now.
Soccer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's the Australians thing rubbing off me. I'm trying to get into the Ange mode. Soccer guys, I do. We be all talking like Gavin in the next podcast. Jesus.
Soccer, Rooney.
So there was always one defender that I was always confident of playing in front of me, and his name was Billy McCarthy, right? Like, he was a big lad, Mark, but there was just something about him. There was confidence that grew off him, you know? And when he wasn't playing, I didn't feel confident in the fellas then that I had in front of me. So that mostly ended up me being sent off.
But you knew that to get maybe that kind of level, you know what I mean? Guys make mistakes, but you knew that when the ball was coming in, you could trust him to be in there, bloody
Exactly.
guts and getting tore in, just doing anything to stop the ball getting in the net.
Exactly. So that's why I think like that our defence has been so bad this week that there was no one confident in our defence. Realistic, Mark, till Stephen Welch came in. That's when our defence and Oyer went into the centre. That's only when Oyer and Stephen Welch went in that we really had a settled centre back. When we took Oyer and then when we took Oyer out of right back, Mark, then we struggled in right back then. You know, so
I'd say, Paul, I'd have gave Welsh Player of the Year.
mhm,
Just for a young boy to come in and put in the performances that he was putting in a rubbish team that was taking. Don't get us wrong, it would have been a bit of a different matter if the fans had been in the stadium.
mhm,
Yeah, I mean, a young boy coming in with the team playing bad with the fans on their back, but without the fans being there, for me that might even have helped Stephen Welsh kind of career for him to settle and kind of grow in the team. But I would
mhm.
say that he was for me, everybody else kind of let us down. Stephen Welsh wasn't involved enough to take
Exactly.
us down. So
But
I'd have gave him Player of the Year without a shadow of a doubt.
there was obviously it does play a part, Mark. Confidence in your defence, confidence in your goalkeeper. But in saying that too, Mark, like some of the shots and all goal last season, you expect your keeper to save them. You know, like
I mean,
there were shots there, and even Gavin was saying it like that, were just flying over Bain's head for fun
oh,
going into the goal.
I know, Bain, some of the ones that Bain missed and that, but I mean, how long were we into the season before we were, oh my God, there Barkas made a save? Was it,
Exactly.
was it not during one of the Rangers games? Was it not when you done your watch along thing?
Yeah, we all clapped.
I think that was the first time we actually saw Barkas making a save.
Making a save, you know. But I would, Mark, you know, if there is any links between Celtic and Matt Ryan of Bryson, like, I would be he'd be a signing, Mark, that would actually breathe confidence into me for next season that area is sorted. But again, Mark, you know, it's all media. Do you know what I mean? We don't know where these links.
Because he's Australian, because
But that's it, yeah, that's it. Do you know? But that's exactly it. But it's going through what you were saying, Mark. That maybe Ange has been looking at Celtic. Like obviously he knows about last season because he spoke to the players and he would have saw the league table too, Mark, and he would have saw how many goals we conceded within last season. Like we conceded a lot of goals.
he's
So
probably
maybe he
watched it. He's
thought we
probably
needed,
watched
yeah,
every game we played. See, he's sitting cooped up in that hotel room, Paul. He's
yeah,
probably watched every single game that we played last season.
yeah, and maybe he thinks, Mark, that it is actually an area that needs to be done. And if we did sign him, I would I would go for that, Mark, because he'd be a goalkeeper, Mark, that I would feel confident, not just in Scotland, but in Europe as well, Mark, because he's the Australian number one. I'm surprised Brighton are selling him, be honest, because the keeper they have, in my opinion, the fella Sanchez that they signed from Spain, it, he's not a better keeper, Mark. The reason he's playing is because I think he's better on his feet, and that's the way Ian Potter wants to play. You know, but I know Ange wants to play out from the back as well.
Thing with Duffy, wasn't it?
Mhm,
Duffy,
mhm,
Duffy didn't fit the kind of
exactly.
style of play they were playing. That's how we ended up on the bench down there.
Mhm,
I've said before, right, all this keeper sweeper stuff and I like my goalkeepers to be able to stop the ball going in the net, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the first thing. Do you get what I mean? See if they're good with their feet and things like that. That's just a bonus. That's really something you should be
Mhm.
looking at. Not clubs like Celtic. If you're like up there at Man City and Barcelona and want to be that kind of thing, you look at that. But if you're at Celtic, you want your goalkeeper to stop the ball going in the net.
Because I remember, Mark, going back a couple of years back now when Brighton came back up and when they were there for a season or two, and he was in and around the squad then, right? He was always the number one thing. He was the one under Houghton as well when he came up with Chris Houghton. And Manchester United, the likes of Liverpool, the top teams, Tottenham, the top teams were linked to him back then, Mark. I mean, so there's a goalkeeper there that if the price is right, the last year of his contract, Mark, and if Celtic did sign him, it'll be no brainer. So next,
And he's agent, Paul.
well,
You know, percentage of this.
he's
Hey,
proposed.
son, I've never heard you that excited for weeks.
No, but I would, Mark. I know it's because, Mark, I played in goal and I liked it, and I saw how poor our keepers, and a lot of people are saying that there's a goalkeeper in Barkas and think. But Mark, next season I don't think is because of what's happening and what's happening to the club. It's a huge rebuild. We need to win the league back, Mark, and that's an area that I think that needs to be improved quickly because I don't feel confident in Barkas
No,
next season.
I agree with you.
So,
Well, I'm one of the ones that I think there is a player in Barkas, but it's a gamble to trust him for another season.
there's going to be more pressure, Mark, on him this season because we need to win the title back, and fans are going to be watching him closely till he's getting his second chance. There's going to be
If we,
more pressure.
if we can move Barkas on and get that Ryan, is it Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan,
hmm
him in, that would be a good piece of business.
hmm Next, Celtic have been linked to it, and is Charlie Wright, the 28-year-old of Sunderland, who scored 30 goals last season. Out of contract at the end of June. Celtic are confident that the deal will be done. So, Mark, this looks like it's going to be kind of a done deal. I think Middlesbrough have pulled out of it. They're not looking at him. Nottingham Forest aren't looking at him. He's 6'2". He's a 6'2" striker. I would want him as a number one striker, but I think he's an option, Mark, that we don't have at the moment in a big striker that maybe could play off another strike if Adge goes too up front or anything like that. You know.
Well, it must be that kind of thinking that's got us interested in him. I mean,
I,
I
I,
don't think he's Edwards' replacement, put it that way. Do you know what I mean? I
mhm,
think he'll be a bit further down the pecking order than that. But just say it gives us that kind of physical presence up front, which a lot of people, well, me included, we have missed that because sometimes it does work having a big burly striker up front for you. So I take it that's just like another option kind of idea, that kind of signing, Paul.
like
A bit
it's a
left.
free chance. It's a free transfer. Like it's either we're not going to lose out on money, Mark. You know what I mean? It's either it could be a win-win. It could be disaster. But look, he scored 30 goals. I know it's the League One, Mark, but there's teams in the League One, Mark. I presume that's are up nearly as better as some of the teams in Scotland.
Well,
You know,
31 goals at any kind of levels, you can't sniff at that, can you really, Paul? I mean,
Mhm. Like one thing though,
everyone
like
knows where the net is.
one thing though that I was reading about is that a few journalists have been saying he's a bit of a journeyman. You know that he's never kind of got himself to the next level, Mark. That he was always kind of in and around the lower leagues of England. You know that's kind of that would be my main concern, Mark. That he hasn't kind of really stepped up yet.
What age
You
is
know, and he's 28. You know.
what age was Jamie Vardy when he got into the Premier League?
Nearly about the same age, aren't they?
I'm not comparing him to Jamie Vardy, by the way, that was just to wind you up, Paul, but
hmm
it doesn't. Well, look at Pookie that we had. I mean, what age was Pookie when he was in, when he gets chance in the Premier League and things like that? I'm not
hmm
all that journeyman stuff. That's just guys maybe not getting the right opportunity at the right time.
Mhm.
Going to, and see that kind of level. I mean, you know yourself, even in Scotland, every year players just get released for clubs for no apparent reason, kind of idea, and they just go for
Mhm.
St Mirren to Aki's, kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Kind of that
like
kind of level.
considering like considering who we have left at the moment, like it looks like maybe Griffiths is going to stay. Bayu is coming back, right? And you have a Yeti. You know, we're going to get this fella in as a free transfer mark for 31 goals. Hopefully, he's not going to be Edwards' answer by the board, that he's not going to be that straight place, that they actually do invest in the striker. But it's worth the punt, Mark, ain't it, on a free transfer?
Well,
You know?
as you've said before as well, Paul, we've not actually got any young strikers on our books.
No, no.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not as if he's coming in, what I was talking about earlier on, holding back a young player. He's coming in and filling a position that, well, if he's that kind of size and the kind of player I've even seen for like the YouTube clips and that, he's a different kind of player for anything we've got.
Yeah, he's not there, Mark. You know, it's a player that we haven't really had since Jan van Gogh Hesselink. That type of player, isn't it? You know,
And
he's going to give us a bit of height, Mark, that we don't have
and
if we're trailing, Mark. Or you
exactly
know,
that's what I was going to say. Sometimes that you need that kind of tactic. If you're late in the game and chasing the game, a punt into the box. Whereas we're punting into players that didn't even have the kind of physicality.
because you look at the squad at the moment, Mark. It's a very small Celtic team, it?
Very,
Yeah.
very lightweight ball,
Hmm.
physical wise in that.
You
Eh,
know,
I think we were talking about like the kind of centre halves we need. Sviatchenko would be ideal if he was a bit quicker. Do you know what I mean?
hmm
Big physical kind of guy, but that we're needing some muscle in the middle of our defence.
especially how fast the game is now, Mark, and the way Ange plays, Mark. I couldn't see Shevchenko, and I'm surprised too. I've never seen this player, Mark, Charlie White play. I haven't seen him play. I haven't seen him, but I've read a lot about him. You know, he's in favour coming to Celtic, Mark. Why wouldn't he be, Mark? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't he be in favour coming? He could be. He
Yeah,
could be the make. It could be the
yeah.
making of him, Mark.
Aye, that's what I was going to say. No offence to the guy, but at that the level he's playing at the now, Celtic even been interested in him. Pardon me.
Hmm.
That's a dream come true, really, isn't it? I mean,
Especially with McGeady being there as well, Mark. And McGeady's a free transfer at the moment as well. He's leaving, but
oh,
McGeady probably talked up Celtic too. Oh, I don't have him linked. Don't worry. You know. Speaking of wingers, former Celtic target Albert Els, a winger who now plays with Boavista, West Ham and Southampton are also being leaked at the player at the moment. Celtic had a chance to sign this player from Houston Dynamo from the MLS last season, but the deal never materialised. The ship has now sealed on this one, as the player is now valued at 10 million, and this would take up Celtic's budget. Mark, I think that's a no-go anyway. It's kind of popped up today that Celtic are interested in him again, but at 10 million mark, I couldn't see it really.
who? I don't know who.
Albert Els, he's an American.
I don't know who you're talking about, Paul.
He's
Start sending me links to stuff you're going to talk about.
Yeah, he's a winger. He's a fast winger from a thing. We were linked him last season. Lennon wanted to sign him for 3 million, 3 to 5 million. Celtic wouldn't pay that for him, and he ended up going to Boavista. And now he's valued at 10 million, Mark. So that's why I brought up, because it shows, Mark, that we've a chance to sign these players beforehand, and we bulked at the prices. I know they're what more money, Mark.
Uh,
They're what with.
There's some of that, Paul, might not be anything to do with the money.
Hmm.
Could be to do with work permit stuff and that. We've been stung a few times with work permits with guys from America and that. So maybe with something like that made it no harm.
So another former Australian and former Huddersfield and Brighton and Manchester City Youth Academy player Aaron Moy uh, has been linked with Celtic in recent days. The 30-year-old, and he's playing in China at the moment. He's playing with Shanghai Port. He's valued now at 5 million. Another Australian mark is being linked to us. I think he would come in, if he did sign, would be Brown's replacement. But it's all, Mark. All I'm seeing at the moment is what the media are linking us to is all Australian
Exactly.
players.
Just anybody that's Australian we can link to. That's what you're saying about with Sviatchenko. Big Ange knows him because he watches that other player that plays the Midtjylland and that. It's just these totally tenuous links about who Celtic could sign. All the
Mhm.
clickbait websites and that, they're the exact same they know as well. 5 Celtic signings Ange could make and that. It's just totally
Yeah,
crazy links that somebody's just
and this
some kind of
Aaron Moy just signed from Brighton. He just moved there last season. He still has 2 years in his contract, Mark. I think he'd be valued at maybe 5.5 million mark even to get him out of China. But why would he want to come out of China, Mark? When I say he'd be on big money there playing in the Chinese league, there's big money in that league, you know.
oh, definitely. It'll be. I don't think Celtic could probably match his wages.
hmm but it's amazing like that when you're looking at transfer targets. Exactly what you said. Like it's 5 players who Celtic could sign, and they're all either linked to the Manchester City group, or they're Australian players, or they're former players who played under Anja, former teams in Brisbane Boros, They're all kind of old players that are kind of linked to him that I I wouldn't fancy the boy really to come into Celtic.
Mm, sorry, Paul Yoda was having a fit there. Yeah. I just when you said that about the Man City group he came in with, that Moy, he was with Man City, wasn't
Yeah, he was in their
he?
grieved in their youth academy, and he went to Huddersfield on loan, and then Brighton signed him. Then, like, so he's a part of. It's like whoever's coming up with these transfer targets is looking at previous players who played for Manchester City, or who's Australian.
Just make sure that the City group don't own anything in the team that he plays for there in China, then, or we've got a
Exactly.
conspiracy in our hands.
And the last transfer target that we have linked to Celtic by the media. Uh, this one actually, Mark, excites me is a Yokohama striker, Edu Unwadu, I think. Right, I'm going to say we get used to it. Scored a hat trick in 6 minutes in his second international match game. 25 years old. He was a favourite under Ange at Yokohama. He was signed by Ange at Yokohama. Edu recently spoke of his fondness about his former boss and that he would like to link up with him again someday. He's out of contract in 6 months. Uh, I actually watched clips of this fella, Mark, to see what he's about, and this fella would excite me, Mark.
Oh,
If
watched a couple of videos. I mean, that he does. He looks a player, doesn't he?
He reminds me of a Scott Sinclair, fast. He can score goals. He can play up front. He can play off the line. Like,
That could be our kind of Lubo signing, couldn't it? Somebody like that, really.
yeah.
Is it like just again, it's YouTube we're watching and things like that. But I definitely, technically, is he's got some skill about him in that. The young,
Don't they? Like he's only 25 years old, Mark, right? And the lads were saying to us too, Mark, like that the Japanese league isn't an easy league. It's a hard league. Like there could be at least about 5 to 6 teams who could win that league.
at least
You know,
depending on who you talk to, but
yeah,
see, I'm not saying it's that the kind of level of the Premier League, but
mm,
it's that kind of thing. There's so many teams that are capable of actually winning the league. That is a big thing to do it. You know what I mean?
14 goals, Mark, in 25 appearances last season for Yokohama. Scored a hat trick in 6 minutes in his second match for Japan. 6 months left in his contract, Mark. He said he doesn't want this. He's not signing a new contract because his former boss and now Celtic manager has left Yokohama. So he's obviously fond of
Looking for a
Ange.
move. He's looking for a move and seems to like Big Answer.
Like for
Even with 6 months in his contract, just buy it the now rather than wait and try and get him
exactly.
free because they wouldn't. No, I mean, wouldn't you be looking for big transfer money or that?
Yeah, but Mark, you were saying there, like in a few podcasts before, we were saying to Gavin like that. These Andrew's going to open up a new market for Celtic that we haven't signed players for in a long, long time since Nakamura, really, Mark, in around the Asian market. Like Andrew's going to open the door for Celtic there to sign these players. You know what I mean? And this be one player that if we sign Mark from Asian League, I would be really excited about. You know?
Well, I don't. I think it's a big gamble, Paul,
Yeah.
players over for that kind of thing. But see the kind of level. I mean, well, Nakamura came from Italy. It's people
He was there, yes, he was there, yeah.
in Europe and that. But
He was in Europe.
I mean, these young players these days. I mean, that young boy's probably a bit of a superstar over in Japan, and
Hmm.
what the game of football's the politics of the
And
football
I was reading,
thing.
I was reading this from the J League news, like these things that he was saying. He was saying to the J League sports broadcasters, like they were in Chinese, so I didn't know what their name was, but he was quoted saying these to the Japanese sports outlets over there that he wants to leave because Beacon said like it wasn't coming from no European. Would you say media, Mark, or Scottish media? This is from the J League itself, because you taught me maybe have a look at the J League to see if we can see any links coming through there. But he was actually saying in the J League that he wants to leave because Beacon's left. You know, so Beacon's must be able to grow on players, Mark. You know,
But
if they're speaking of him.
see, that's what I was saying. But these players that are over there, and young players, if they're star players, they know that the chances are they're going to have to move to not a better country, a kind of more to help their profile and their wages, their earnings, and things like that. And that's where it's the way I've got this kind of impression of Big Ange is that players over that neck of the woods would come out here because of him.
Hmm.
Do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
That's kind of reputation.
Yeah, he
There.
does, Mark.
Ah, you really, and
Because we don't know,
no,
Mark.
but no, that's exactly, Paul. We've only kind of
Yeah, but
read
his reputation is huge.
exactly. Gavin was saying about it, all the stuff he's done behind the scenes, at all the levels of Australian football and that, and
And I was,
Japan, and it seems to this kind of status about him over in
yeah,
that kind of side of the world that players would
and
come
I was reading
because of him, right? That kind of
today,
idea.
when I sent you the link, Mark, today that we're actually being followed now because we have Celtic Australians on board us, and Gary and Gavin will come on future broadcasts with us, and we're going to be going on the Celtic Australians podcast with the lads when they're up and running properly at the moment. So we're going to be going on them, but we're actually being followed at the moment on Twitter by Celtic fan club in Sydney that they just started following us today. And I was reading through their tweets, and these Celtic supporters over in Australia, Mark, are extremely excited about Ange coming to Celtic. Like, you
Uh,
know,
well, we heard it from Gavin and I keep
yeah,
forgetting, is it Chris, the other guy?
Chris,
I
yeah,
keep forgetting it, Chris. But we heard from them about him and a lot of the stuff we didn't know. Do you know what I mean? The way that he was held in that kind of prestige and how
hmm
a lot of the Australians knew the kind of football he was going to play and what he would bring to the team, and he'd raise the levels, and especially about the fitness. He seems to be obsessed with fitness, so that can only be a good thing for us going forward.
um, like so they're all the media, like so they're only all rumours and gossip. But I said, look, there are players that the media are leaking us to, Mark. Like, would you be confident with the players maybe that the media are leaking us to, Mark, or would you think we need to be stepping up a bit better from the likes of Moy
Uh,
and stuff like that? You know, there's only two players really that stand out for me. There is the lad playing the J League and Matt Ryan that I would feel confident.
agree with that. The rest of them, it's a kind of hit and miss kind of idea,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's
yeah,
not really
yeah.
inspiring with much confidence, but the Matt Ryan one and the boy for the J League are definitely
You-
something that would improve us right away.
But so they're the transfer things that have. But what made me more concerned, Mark, is that the media having kind of named any players, Mark, where we're struggling for players. Like we have left back, we have problems in right back. We've basically no ringers, bar
Always back, isn't he?
the team. But surely, I just hope, Mark, that the board and Ange know that these are areas, Mark, that we need to invest in, Mark, not get loan signings, Mark, for left back and right back,
Oh.
that we need permanent signings there at the moment.
Well,
You know?
I don't know. There seems to be a lot kind of, not really rumours, but there's always wee articles popping up
Yes,
about Aaron Hickey.
yeah, Aaron Hickey again, I've seen that. And he's come out, Mark, and said that he
It,
was actually close to signing for Celtic and he'd like to sign for Celtic, you know. So,
is that would Aaron Hickey be good enough for the Champions League? Well, even though even the Champions League, the Europa League,
mhm.
I would take that. I'd probably take that gamble.
Yeah, because you look at it, Mark,
With
like
Hickey and Greg Taylor as our two left backs, I would probably go with that, to be honest, Paul.
mhm. But it's interesting, right? And I spoke about it in the rumours, and he is coming back, Mark, and it is going to be a clean slate for everyone at Celtic. I presume, like even Lee Griffiths is getting a clean slate by the phone call he had today, right? So, do you think the board will take Bolingoli's decision out of Big Ange's hands because of what he did last season?
Oh, I don't. See, to be honest, Paul, I just.
It is a tough one, Mark, isn't it?
Oh, see, at the time of this, we weren't actually too sure what was actually fact and fiction with this COVID thing and that. I mean, that was pure stupidity what he done.
Hmm.
He's only a young boy. He made a mistake. But fair dues, it was a bit of a big mistake. But I mean, let's not crucify him for it.
I think, Mark,
I don't.
considering everything that happened last season, like he was, as you said, Mark, he was a stupid young lad. But the whole season last season was just a whole bomb scare, really. You know, like it should be maybe a clean slate and maybe see if Beacons can improve him, being out a player that we haven't seen him. You know, like we know that Lennon's unable to help players' careers.
I think maybe Bolingoli himself will be looking to move on just because of what's happened.
You know, because there is a group of fans, Mark, that won't accept it.
He'll
You know,
he'll get he'll get somebody to sign him. It just depends on how much money Celtic's willing to kind of take a hit on kind of idea. But I don't think he'll have a future at Celtic. But I think
hmm
I think it was all a bit blown out of proportion, to be honest, Paul, because of the uncertainty at the time of what was true and what wasn't.
exactly. So like, it is, Mark, because he is going to he's going to be in pre-season next week. He's coming back to Celtic's confirmed. He's coming back. Bayou's coming back next season. Shevard, we don't know if he's going to be. He wants to go on loan. We don't know if he's coming back, but there's a lot. There's players that are coming back, Mark, that we've seen that haven't progressed under Lennon because Lennon's not the type of manager, Mark, that can progress the players. He can't develop players, in my opinion. Lennon, he doesn't know how to make players better players. But maybe B. Gange is the manager that Celtic need to maybe make these players better players, believe in them. Like Rogers and Doyle, Mark, they made players better. They made them feel better in themselves. You know, do you think maybe there's a player that we haven't seen maybe in Bayou? There's a player we haven't seen in Bolingoli, Sheved, that maybe Ange can actually, considering what we heard about him, he's able to develop players properly, Mark. He gives them a pass. Maybe he's the one that can change Celtic around, Mark. I'm sure the fans that we've signed these players rightly and that there was players in, but it was just under bad management, Mark. You know?
Oh, well, he could do that, and the players will. I mean, we've said it. It's a clean slate, so these players can
Mhm.
come back and just kind of shine to Big Ange, and he's like, I, I don't recognise this for what. Do you get what I mean? What I've been told about you and that kind of you're totally changed my opinion of what I was expecting for you. If these players are willing to come in and put the effort in,
Mhm.
but it
Exactly.
comes down to the players. Do the players still want to be here after the way they've maybe been treated off
Exactly.
in the past?
Because Mark, if I was a player out on loan and if I'm coming back to Celtic and you know yourself that you didn't fit Neil Lennon's system for the last 2 years. You know you want to part of his plans. you couldn't play under his thing, he didn't rate you. And if you're coming in and there's a new manager coming back from loan, Bayu had a good season. I know it was League One over in France, but he was playing with Toulouse, and it's the same with Bolingoli. He was playing Bolingoli was playing the Champions League last season, Mark, against Manchester United at Old Trafford. You know.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There'll be clubs out there that would, if Bolingoli wants to leave and Celtic want to let him go, which maybe be for the best apart of the ways, there'll
Mm-hmm.
be teams out there that will sign him, and we will probably get some kind of fee for him. But
Mm-hmm.
if he comes in, puts his seat down, I mean,
Yeah,
he can't crucify you. He can't just keep
because I think,
on
Mark,
about it, Paul. If
I
he
think,
comes in,
Mark, if he comes in, does a job, the fans will quickly forget what happened
aye,
last season.
really,
And that's what we need to, the fans need to start doing those, Mark, is forget about last season. Last season is done. It's finished. You know, we're a new era. We're going into a new rebuild. There's going to be new players in. There's no reason for negativity around the club at the moment, Mark. I know we don't have a director of football. There's still, but it will happen. If it's, I personally, it won't happen this season. That's my opinion. But you have to get behind the club now and see what players we're going to bring in. And we still need a chief scout, Mark, because we actually don't have a chief scout. But is Big Ange going to be looking after all that himself, Mark? Or is it too much for him to be looking after all that?
I think it's too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
As what we've spoke about before, Paul. He's
Yeah,
coming. It's his
the
first
unknown.
chance in Europe, etc. Blah blah. We've been through it all before, but for to put the full responsibility, everything on him is a big ask for me.
Mm-hmm. So maybe Celtic are looking at maybe a chief scout, Mark, at the moment, and not a director of football. That's right. I honestly think, Mark, that a director of football is a no go this season, because considering what has happened, that there's so much going on at the club. I think maybe if they were going to sign a director of football, that was part of the Eddie Howe deal. You know, and that's, I think, though they know with so much little time after the transfer window is opening, and there's going to be players leaving. I think Celtic just want to get the players in, settle down, and just start hitting the ground running with new players. Uh, that's all for tonight, folks. Thank you to our sponsors, Manscaped Grooming, for their support for us. Remember, 20% off plus free shipping when you purchase with our code Celtic Rumours TV. And don't forget, when you purchase, to trim your balls where you listen to us on the Balls and Bovril podcast. Thanks to all of you who joined us on the live chat. Mark, for joining me again tonight on the show. Mark, we now close the show.
Thanks very much, Paul. Just as I said earlier, the link to the GoFundMe page for the charity game for the NHS is in the description, and the link that for Manscaped, that's also in the description. Thanks very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it, lads. Remember, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Thanks again. Good night and God bless.